This is fast becoming the most significant legal question of the Trump era. Could Trump use pardons to end the prosecution of all crimes related to Russia's 2016 election meddling? We have the answer in our special investigative report tonight, and the answer is no. Even mass pardons by President Trump would not close the door to all prosecutions for crimes related to the 2016 election meddling, and here is why. If Trump were to pardon every person facing scrutiny in Mueller's Russia probe, it would halt federal prosecution for those Russia-related crimes. When President George H.W. Bush pardoned his defense secretary 2 weeks before his trial for lying to Congress, it ended that case for good. Lying to Congress is a federal crime. Bush gave out a federal pardon. End of story. But the Russia allegations are potentially different. They do not only implicate federal crimes. And tonight, for the first time, we can report new findings from an MSNBC legal unit investigation into the other way this Russia probe could continue even after pardons, through prosecution for state crimes. Bob Mueller is investigating these federal crimes, and when his investigation is complete, he can charge people and report to Congress on any misconduct found in the White House. Our reporting on the allegations in the Russia probe, though, shows several state crimes could also be implicated. That's key because President Trump has no power to pardon state crimes, and depending on the facts, state prosecutors could pick up the case where Bob Mueller leaves it. First, if any Americans were involved with Russian hacking at the DNC, they could face charges in states like Virginia, where much of Washington's tech support is located. Second, if any Americans were involved with Russian intrusions into state elections, they could face charges in some of those 39 states. Third, if any Americans were involved with other interstate conspiracies with Russians, they could face conspiracy charges in those states. Some of the charges don't even require the plot to be successful. If Americans tried to commit a felony with Russians, they could face charges. Now, historically, let's be clear. States usually defer to federal investigators. But if Trump issues mass pardons, that legal door would be open in some states. A state also may obtain grand jury material if it shows a violation of state law. So if Mueller's investigation ends, a state could pursue the transcripts of every Mueller interview before the grand jury and other evidence. In fact, I can report tonight that a source with knowledge of one state attorney general's preparations tells me that office is already looking at its potential jurisdiction for Russia-related crimes. The source also notes the feds generally do go first. Now, whether there are state cases depends on a lot we don't know at this point, including whether Trump ultimately interferes with Mueller over what he considers that red line. On this week, of course, we learned some investigators looking at his efforts to do business with Russia during the campaign.
Mueller was looking at your finances, your family's finances, unrelated to Russia. Is that a red line?
Would that be a breach of what his actual?
I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes. By the way, I would say I mean, it's possible that it's a condo or something. So I sell a lot of condo units, and somebody from Russia buys a condo. Who knows? I don't make money from Russia.
Whether a state prosecutor picks this up depends on not only if Trump pardons people, but when he might do it. Now, this has never been reported previously, but several key state laws on double jeopardy would actually turn on the timing of any federal pardon. Translation, an early pardon by Trump would actually leave the door more open to state prosecution. That's the case, for example, in Illinois, where we found state hacking laws would be easier to enforce in the Russia case if a pardon came earlier rather than later. And just as the law empowers states to pursue grand jury material, it's also possible for a state to ultimately hire Mueller or his team down the road. The laws vary, but states allow the hiring of special investigators. Now, President Trump has already tested several parts of our constitutional system. One of its core foundations, though, is federalism, that the federal and state governments do have separate authority to pursue criminal inquiries. And when the federal system takes a back seat for whatever reason, sometimes states step up. So President Trump may test the limits of the pardon power on this Russia case at his own peril.